Norma Douglas, and I, for many years, was married to Dr. Herbert Douglas, and I think some folks would like to hear about some of the activities that we did beside him being in the pulpit or at the editor's desk or whatever, just home life experiences that we had for many years. It's hard to know where to start, but we traveled a lot, and I enjoyed every bit of it, and several countries, some of them we went back to 2 or 3 times, so that was a good thing, I guess. And first of all, he was a romantic at heart, and at every time I had a birthday or we had an anniversary, he would surprise me with a trip somewhere. Never knew where. It might be up in the next county or way up in the next state, but we have a lot of memories that way. And we always, at least once a year, got around to visiting everybody in our family. And the family kept enlarging. And we have 10 grandchildren and 15 great-grandchildren, the oldest of which is 21. And there's another grandchild that's going to be married in June, so the family may exceed my 15. And my first trip was, after we were married, was to Vienna at the General Conference. And that was a good experience for me, my first trip overseas. And we took the tea trains, of course, around Europe, and visited Scotland and Britain. And anyway, when we got to Rome and really had to settle in on getting to Vienna, it just took a moment, but somebody took my purse. It was stolen. And passports and driver's license and different things like that. Well, it was a hot day. I'd forgotten about this, and there was a strike on, and no taxis, no buses. We had to go to the consulate. But someone directed us up there. We had to relocate our luggage, of course, take it into the train station and put it aside till we found my purse, which wasn't going to happen, I guess, that day. And we got directions. It wasn't too far away. It was several blocks, but I'm good at walking. We both were. And we got there and had to have our pictures taken again and get new passports made. They said they were used to that. This is Rome I'm talking about at the moment. And so after an hour or so of that and walking way back to the train station, we finally got on a different train than we anticipated. And I guess it was a little milk train that stopped at every corner on the way to Vienna. And the windows were open and the exhaust from the street and the train were coming in the windows. And it was just an experience. But we met another delegation from Florida there, so we met some folks we knew, or I had known. And she had enough thyroid pills for me to finish my trip with, which was nice because my thyroid pills are gone, which is immaterial. And but we all stayed together, and we eventually got to Vienna. I forget how long that trip was now, but it wasn't a fast tea train. when we got to the hotel, it was a brand new one, as I understand, just open for our convention, general conference, crowded with people. My husband and I looked like we had just been working in the coal yards somewhere. We looked hot, miserable. We looked like we didn't belong in that hotel. It was, Well, we got to the desk, and I think the gentleman thought we didn't belong there too. It was amazing. He said, well, how do you plan to pay, what are your plans? Well, he pulled out his gold card and had reservations here, and they couldn't help but take us in. And my husband had to go that evening to meetings where they were holding it. And I was going to walk in with a friend later, but I was exhausted, I have to admit. And I called him up and I said, I think I won't make it tonight. I just got in my room, wrapped up everything I had on me and put it in a paper bag and didn't open it till I got back home and had a shower. It was an experience. One time we were invited to the camp meeting in Hong Kong, and we stayed in the hospital there and had guest apartments up on the top floor, which was very nice. And it took about 15 miles from there to the campsite at the college. And we thought it took about an hour and a half to get there. It's wall-to-wall vehicles. You can't get there in 15 minutes. And we had a week there. We stayed at their facility, and that was nice. They gave us a nice going away gift, and appreciated it. And from the Hong Kong area, it was a long time ago. I don't remember how they made arrangements for us to go into mainland China, and from there it would have been too expensive if we had done it here in America, but we didn't think of getting into China. But we did. It was well worth the trip. We spent a week in Shanghai, and it used to be Peking, and now it's Beijing, and it was marvelous. We saw the Emperor's Palace, and they built the walls or the ground underneath about 15 bricks deep, being crisscrossed, and no enemy could get to them from underneath. And we walked on the Great Wall of China, which I had heard about in 4th grade maybe, and never dreamed I'd be ever walking on it. But it was a beautiful day, and it couldn't have been nicer. And we walked almost the whole length. Not really. There's a lot of broken down places, but it was. I'll never forget the trip. And one time a couple times we went to Korea for some meetings, and on one trip Elder Inada was a friend of ours, and he was in charge of the division mission. I'm not sure what his title was now. And he arranged for us to go up to the DMZ, so we looked over into North Korea. And it was an experience getting up there. We were given some instructions, and just don't do anything outstanding. And we kept hearing loudspeakers on the way up and telling us how wonderful it was in North Korea. We've been in the Ukraine. He had a seminar there, extension course from Andrews, and beautiful people. I never knew anybody that could be so appreciative of this message, and I wanted them all to come home with me. But he had an interesting experience there. When he was going to give them an exam, they wanted to know all the answers. They were used to that, you see. They weren't used to thinking for themselves too much, and so that finally worked out. And he was a World War II buff, and for one of our vacation trips, we went to visit Normandy and walked on the beaches. We went down and walked in the bunkers, where it was larger than I would have thought, where they stored ammunition, where they took their rest periods or whatever, in the guns all around the beachhead. And we saw St. Maria Église, where the young man was hanging from the church steeple that had his parachute caught on it, and they still have a replica there of that. And it's been quite an experience to go to so many countries and visit these people. I felt humbled to be with the Russian people and the Ukrainians. They're precious, and they appreciate so much. And they're all so talented with violins and saxophones and piano. Music, I think, was their life during the hard times. And another thing that gets to my heart is the experiences one can have in doing the Lord's work. If any of the young people are considering it, don't think for a moment that it's boring. I've never lived so fast in my life as I have living with this dedicated man for so many years. And I encourage anybody who is interested at all to look well into it. I think the only path for a young person to go nowadays is to follow God. It's worked for me, and I say the promise in Proverbs 3, verses 5 to 8, daily, several times a day. And you look it up. I don't know if I have time to say it here, but it's just trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, but acknowledge Him in all thy ways, and He will make smooth your path. And I have seen that work time and time again. I couldn't have had a more fulfilling life than where I've been as just a helpmeet to Herbert Douglas.